Welcome back to Fudge Muppet. My name is Scott, and this is the fourth build of our role-playing series, the Ronin, a corporate mercenary with a mysterious past and a menacing appearance. He is an artist with a blade, moving like a panther stalking the night, but if you were to find him, there is no victory, because when cornered, the Ronin is like an ancient warrior of old, a flurry of flesh-parting strikes and blood-biting steel. Of course, you need not find yourself on the target side of the equation. The Ronin has no code but his own, and his services pawn out to the highest bidder. This build is the ultimate melee experience, wrapped in with some great utilization of stealth, but whether in the open or hidden by shadows, the Ronin build excels in either situation. These are dedicated role-playing builds full of statistical greatness, but complete with backstories and character personalities. But if this isn't something that interests you, then you can use the timestamps to navigate to the more statistical parts of the build. Also, I'm keeping this spoiler-free, like all of our builds will be, no main story talk or faction quest outcomes spoken about. We want you to experience these for yourself. But we mention how to join them when necessary. The role-playing section will give you a more in-depth insight of the character personality, and so you should be able to infer the choices he would make from there. But with that said, let's dive into character creation. Conceptually, this guy is taking a note out of many books. Everything weeb, Ronin, ninja, and samurai, as well as all the extra media that draws from those very same things. We stick to the Tanto and Wakizashi for these reasons, and I gave him a big facial tattoo related to his past. He's also covered in scars, and his eyes have undergone a special procedure, an eye shine. Those Riddick fans out there will love that. I don't make him too bulky because he should be wiry and lean, but let's dive into the background that you will surely be able to guess. The Ronin uses the bounty hunter background because statistically it is a really good background. I'm just kidding. Of course the Ronin uses the Ronin background, and it offers the starting skills of dueling, stealth, and scavenging, all of which this build will be utilizing, and of course it opens up all the Ronin-related dialogue options. For the traits, I went with Introvert, Wanted, and Neon Street Rat. Neon Street Rat is a flavor choice that is related to the backstory. Wanted is also related to this backstory, however, it makes you do extra damage when your health is low, which can be handy early on as a melee character taking lots of damage. And finally, Introvert is chosen, which makes it so when you have no companions, you consume less oxygen. Very handy for a melee character with lots of sprinting and power attacking. Also, this character is going to be taking advantage of the isolation skill, which at 4 ranks will increase our damage by 40%, and on top of this, stealth is just a million times easier without companions, spoiling your cover. And on top of this, from a role-playing perspective, a lone Ronin is way cooler than one with Sarah Morgan chasing your tail, chastising you for every disagreeable choice that you will make. The backstory and role-playing sections of the video will expand more about the character in terms of personality and motivations, but for now, let's get into the gameplay elements of the character. Time for the nitty-gritty. Let's talk skills and how to prioritize them. Due to the nature of Starfield's leveling system, it's hard to give an exact order of leveling skills because each requires certain challenges to be completed first. So for instance, I might say get pistol certification rank 3 at level 8, but you may not have completed the required challenge by then, and we don't want to be sitting on skill points unallocated. So I thought it would be best to break down all the skills the character needs in the long run, and then I'll provide some benchmark examples of the builds at level 15, 30, and 50, roughly encapsulating an early, mid-game, and late-game feel in the leveling section of this video, letting you know what to prioritize. Firstly, the physical skills. We will be taking 4 ranks of fitness, which results in a 30% boosted oxygen capacity, in addition to power attacks and sprinting, using significantly less oxygen at rank 3, all of which is very useful for a melee-centric running and slashing build. Next up is stealth, of which we will start with rank 1 due to our background, and in essence, by rank 4 we will be 100% more difficult to detect when sneaking, suppressed weapons will do an additional 20% sneak attack damage, and doors you interact with will no longer alert enemies. It's essential for a stealth build. Next we have wellness, which is a simple health percentage increase. It's very easy to level, and at level 4 it increases our max health by 40%. As a melee build that will often be out in the open, sprinting through gunfire, you're bound to take lots of hits. This build is a melee tank and stealth build in one. Next we go for gymnastics, and this is the ultimate pick for some ninja flavor. Now, controversially, I forgo the boost pack for this build. Firstly, it breaks your stealth, unlike gymnastics, plus when I think ninja, I don't think jetpack. And in terms of traversal, we still have beefed up sprinting because of fitness, and we will be implementing Chems for some extra movement speed through things like amp. But gymnastics at rank 1 gives us the combat slide and 15% less fall damage, rank 2 makes us move faster in 0G and take 20% less fall damage, rank 3 gives us 30% less fall damage, and we replenish some O2 after mantling and become more stable while firing in 0G, which is irrelevant for our use. However, rank 4 is what we really want. It gives us increased jump height, dramatically so now we can reach the top of a one-story building in a single jump, and we run faster after sliding or mantling, which we can do a lot, especially the sliding behind cover, then sprinting towards the next enemy. It can be really fun. Martial arts is the next pick, and we take 4 ranks. It gives us at rank 1 15% increased crit chance with our sword. At rank 2 we get a 15% chance to disarm an opponent with a power attack, and especially rank 3 making it so we get 10% less damage while wielding a melee weapon, which will stack with dueling, giving us a total 25% reduction to incoming damage while wielding a melee weapon. And at rank 4 we reflect 50% damage back onto an enemy when blocking an unarmed or melee attack. This will come in handy when fighting creatures especially. Next we have concealment, which is incredibly necessary. It increases our sneak attack damage with melee weapons by 10 times at rank 4. It also makes it so we no longer set off enemy mines. Running while sneaking doesn't affect stealth. This is vital for melee stealth. And we also get a chameleon-like ability when standing still and sneaking, and engaging stealth causes distant enemies to lose you. And finally we pick rejuvenation. Now this is mainly a role-playing pick. Have you seen the movie Ninja Assassin? You know the healing scene where he does those hand signs and heals his wounds? I wanted that kind of energy here, and so with rejuvenation we at first only slowly regenerate health outside of combat, but by rank 4 we'd regenerate health very fast outside of combat and regenerate health quickly while in combat. This build gives us lots of recovery options, which we'll get to soon, but that's all for the physical skills. Let's move on to the social skills. For the social skills, we start with scavenging due to our background, and this is just an easy place to dump some points and get additional benefits in looting credits, ammo, which is weightless loot that we can sell, and medpacks and chems. We get rank 3, and we also place a single point in theft just to unlock pickpocketing for those instances where we want to swipe a key card or something like that. Just handy to have for this playstyle. But the main reason we're investing in social at all is so that we can get access to the isolation skill, which gives us at rank 4, as long as we have no companions, which we don't, 40% more damage and 60 more damage resistance physical for each spacesuit and helmet equipped. A much needed boost to melee damage. In regards to the spacesuit, as a stealth build, especially early game, there will be advantages to not wearing one. However, some of the spacesuit modding we will do will fix this. Next we have the combat skills, and this is very simple. Dueling, all 4 ranks. By rank 3 we'll have our melee weapons do 50% more damage, we'll take 15% less damage while wielding a melee weapon, stacking with martial arts, and melee kills will make us run faster for 10 seconds, which is nice for closing distance. At rank 4, melee kills will heal us for 10% of our health, which with a 40% bigger health pool from wellness at rank 4 gives us a very good ability to recover health as we kill, incentivizing the aggressive, speedy playstyle. Now science has some important skills to really make the melee build dish out some more damage, but many of these are on the later tiers. But because melee builds get out in the open a lot and mistakes will happen, medicine is a good pick to dump points into so we can reach the later tiers. 4 ranks of medicine are taken. By this point, med packs, trauma packs, and emergency kits will restore 50% more health, 50% faster, and have a chance to cure an affliction. This combined with baseline health regen from rejuvenation on top of dueling rank 4 gives us the max amount of recovery options, so even if we are chipping away at a tough enemy, we still have the health recovery options available. Next we have spacesuit design, which we'll be getting 3 ranks of, giving us access to all of the crafting options for spacesuits, and this is vital because it will give us access to the gravitic composites mods, which enhance our stealth, allowing us to stealth well with armor on. In fact, in testing, I found that stealth with the gravitic composites armor is better than none at all. We will be able to boost our melee damage slightly as a bonus, but in order to get to tier 3, we need to invest another point somewhere. You could go into spacesuit 4, which makes it so spacesuit modding occasionally doesn't cost resources, but I feel as if this has diminishing returns because we just aren't modding that much, especially once we have our armor set up. Resources ultimately aren't that expensive either, and this rank just isn't worth it to me. So I dumped a point into surveying, increasing the scanner distance to 20 meters, which is a convenient skill for exploring if you choose to do that. But now we have tier 3, we are going to put 4 points into chemistry. This is a game changer for melee. There are some really powerful fun chems to make, but I will go over these in more detail in the gear section. And finally, we need special projects rank 1 in order to craft the best of the best chems. That is all for skills. All of these will result in a powerful melee and stealth build, but as for some final notes and caveats, I do have to mention that at this point in time, Melee is severely underpowered compared to guns, and stealth melee especially can be quite tricky, and that is why I designed this build around being able to be effective as a melee fighter as well as a stealthy ninja character, because chances are you will get caught, even with all the buffs to stealth that we have, and when that is the case, we want to be able to be an amazing sword fighter with crazy chem-fueled speed. If you don't like the stealth in this game, then you can instead modify this build to completely go without. I would in this case ditch concealment and the 3 ranks of stealth we add to our default background rank, and you could instead put these towards piloting or boost packs or something like that, even persuasion and dialogue flavor skills like intimidation and negotiation. And in regards to the spacesuit design skill in this case, it is far less essential and you could easily put those points somewhere else. However, if you are sticking with it, then you can add more of the resistance related mods without being worried about adding extra weight to your suit, which would affect stealth. Also, I am sure it is controversial to some that I added no points into security as a stealth character, but ultimately the reality is there are very few, if any, situations where it is needed to progress through the quests, even in the Ryujin questline, and in terms of loot, it can be pretty disappointing. We made a whole video assessing the cost benefits of it for looting, and it's just not that great. But if it is important for you, you can make a very valid case for getting security instead of rejuvenation. But personally, I prefer the unique vibes of rejuvenation, but again, it is role-playing motivated in choice, so security may be something you would rather do. That's an easy swap. But with all that said, let's talk leveling with a skill set that I've prescribed already. Right out the gate at level 1, we will have, due to our Ronin background, the skills Stealth, Scavenging, and Dueling, all of which will come in handy. But before I get into the level by level, I just want to give some quick tips. We want as much damage ASAP, and when it comes to leveling Stealth, which requires us to do stealth attacks, I am going to have to recommend using a suppressed pistol to level it up, because melee stealth will make it insanely hard to level. Without at bare minimum rank 4 of stealth, and to be honest, even without rank 2 of concealment, melee stealth is quite the frustrating playstyle. After this point it's all good, but it can be really tough at the start, so I really recommend using a suppressed pistol, even just training it up on creatures on a planet somewhere, just so we can get to stealth 4 very quickly. But again, this whole build in essence accounts for the fact that stealth won't be working all the time, and so we are equipped to deal with open combat. Also, this build is ideal to play the first 10 levels or so as a more straightforward melee build while we get a strong base of skills underneath us, and then add in the stealth later, because simply put, we won't be gaining the advantages of melee stealth until we are much further in skills, and I think ultimately it's much more fun to, in the early game, be sucky at stealth but really great at melee, versus just being mid at both until the late game. In the role-playing section, I will also have some recommendations for early game missions, which will facilitate a low level melee build well. With all that said, at level 2 I'd take Fitness rank 1. This takes a good while to level, so I wanted to start early. Then level 3 I'd go for something like Medicine rank 1, so we can get started in there, followed by Dueling rank 2 at level 4, then Wellness rank 1 at level 5, Dueling rank 3 at level 6, Fitness rank 2 at level 7, Medicine rank 2 at level 8, Wellness rank 2 at level 9, and at level 10 I'd probably hit a point in Surveying, which will help us get to tier 2 of Science sooner. Level 11 should be Dueling rank 4, which now establishes us as a melee beast with great health recovery, including the 10% back on kill, the recovery bonuses from Medicine skill, and the larger health pool from Wellness. Levels 12 through to 15 I think should include Wellness rank 3, Gymnastics rank 1, Stealth rank 2, Medicine rank 3, and Spacesuit Design rank 1. By this point, we have a really good melee combat base under us, so we can start working on our stealth capabilities aggressively, plus we have the physical investment under us so that we can get to Concealment rank 2 much quicker. But a good level 15 benchmark for this Ronin build should have the following: Fitness rank 2, Stealth rank 2, Fitness rank 2, Gymnastics rank 1, Scavenging rank 1, Dueling rank 4, Medicine rank 3, Surveying rank 1, and Spacesuit Design rank 1. Now we are very established, it's time to do a little bit of a grind on that stealth. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to be deliberately training this up with a suppressed pistol, ideally against aliens on a planet, so level 16 and 17 should ideally be stealth ranks 3 and 4. Trust me, this grinding with the pistol is just so much better than trying to do melee stealth without Concealment rank 2. Strategy wise here, we can hit Wellness rank 3, Fitness rank 3, and the first rank of Martial Arts between here and level 20, so that level 21 we can hit the first rank of Concealment. Again, this can be a little bit of a grind to get organically, and I would recommend checking out Michael's video on stealth tips, but we can use EM weapons to knock out targets and then get the kills easily, hence leveling it up easier. I know this may sound like a grind, but just due to the nature of stealth and melee in this game, as it is currently, a short grind results in a much better experience for the rest of the actual gameplay. So I highly recommend that we just eat the big L and grind concealment for the next 3 levels, resulting in concealment rank 4 by level 24, and then we can tack on theft rank 1 at level 25. We are now ninja tier in ability. For the next few levels, I would recommend boosting spacesuit design to rank 3 and also take medicine 4. Spacesuit design can be leveled easily by taking a mod, something very simple and low resource cost, and then putting it on and switching to no mod and then switching it back, etc. It will cost resources, but it's pretty painless to level quick. Then we grab chemistry rank 1 at level 29, and then we can finish off wellness at rank 4 with level 30. So now, firmly in the mid game, we have a great base under us in terms of open combat sword fighting, but also the stealth skills we need so that we can be the best of the best at Ryujin as an operative. A good level 30 benchmark for this Ronin build should have the following: fitness rank 3, stealth rank 4, wellness rank 4, gymnastics rank 1, martial arts rank 1, concealment rank 4, scavenging rank 1, theft rank 1, dueling rank 4, medicine rank 4, surveying rank 1, spacesuit design rank 3, and chemistry rank 1. Now we're really looking to round out the build and give him the final touches to really boost him up. Melee damage might start feeling a little lackluster, and we want to bring it up to par with some extra skills. Between levels 30 and 40, we want to hit the following: chemistry ranks 2, 3, and 4, as well as special projects rank 1, and we want to hit scavenging ranks 2 and 3 so that we can pump points into isolation. This will give us a hefty 40% bonus to damage flat, and there is no qualms about wearing armor because we can modify it with gravitic composites by this point. Now it really is just padding out the rest of this build with fun and flair, including all 4 ranks of martial arts, gymnastics, and rejuvenation, as well as finishing off fitness. So yeah, technically it is level 51, but yeah, a level 51 benchmark for the Ronin looks like this: fitness rank 4, stealth rank 4, wellness rank 4, gymnastics rank 4, martial arts rank 4, concealment rank 4, rejuvenation rank 4, scavenging rank 3, theft rank 1, isolation rank 4, dueling rank 4, medicine rank 4, surveying rank 1, spacesuit design rank 3, chemistry rank 4, and special projects rank 1. But with all that statistical heaviness said and done, let's get into the backstory, followed by the role-playing for this character. The Ronin never chose this life. He never knew his parents. He was given to the Red Lotus as a baby, and that was all he knew. At this hidden sanctuary on a remote moon, the Ronin was raised for a single purpose: to kill for the Order. Some evidence would suggest that this Red Lotus was once a clandestine cell of the UC Command at the time of the Narian War. But now any trace of official custom has been eroded, and what remained was a cult of assassins taking in unwanted children and raising them to be killers for hire. The Ronin was given a name, Shaitan, and all manner of trials and abuse were laid upon him. By age of 12, he had survived along with 3 others from their cohort of 11. Then the experimental surgery known as the Eyeshine was undertaken. 3 of the 4 procedures were performed successfully. The other was blinded and destined to become one of the stewards of the sanctuary, unable to see the secrets of the masters who communicated in sign. Shaitan's procedure was successful, and with his eyeshine came not only a unique appearance to his eyes, but also greater night vision and enhanced perception. But now the rigorous trialing began, and for the first time he left the sanctuary of the Red Lotus. Each of the successful initiates were paired with a master, sent on tests, petty executions, and trials across the galaxy. The Ronin excelled, made his masters proud, an excellent pupil who by the age of 15 was made a fully fledged member of the Order. His face was given the inked mark of the Red Lotus, and he was now fit to engage in the contracts of assassination by his lonesome. He would still be dropped onto planets by designated pilots of the Order, but once planetside it was up to him to carry out his missions alone. He pulled off many successfully. He was a prodigy and a valuable asset, but the overwhelming beauty and diversity of what lay outside his sanctuary made for a siren song that he could not resist following. He had no qualms about killing. It was not some sense of justice or some abstract sense of morality that pulled him from the path of the Red Lotus, but rather the people, the places, the expanse that lay outside the only home he knew. For some time he considered leaving, escaping his masters, but it was not until the age of 16 that he finally had a plan. During a mission in the Cheyenne system, he slipped onto a freighter leaving Aquila, unaware of the tracking device that was implanted in his neck during the Eyeshine procedure. The Red Lotus picked up on his abandonment of the mission. Their product had gone defunct. They could not smear the reputation of their order by having dissidents about. Assassin ships were sent after the freighter he had boarded, and it was shot down over Volii Alpha. Shaitan was retired. But above the flaming wreckage of the freighter, slowly sinking into the abyss, Shaitan, burnt and scarred beyond belief, emerged from the depths alive, for days floating atop wreckage before a trawler pulled his body from the ocean, thinking that he was dead. The fisherman took him back to Neon. The young survivor was barely conscious. The captain was even kind enough to take his credits and rent him a sleep crate, pocketing the rest for his services, registering him under the name of Mr. Smith. Believe it or not, this was one of the most charitable outcomes that could have happened on Neon. It was not until a few days later that he regained full consciousness, with salt-washed wounds and soggy, scabbed bandages wrapped around him. When he finally awoke in what was essentially a box, he panicked and screamed and jumped from his crate. Those around him barely blinked, figured that he was some junkie on some wild chem stuff. But then the strangest relief washed over him, as he finally realized that through this baptism of fire and water, he was finally freed from the grips of the Lotus. He was born again, and the streets of Neon were his home for the next few years. He took on the name listed on his rented crate, going by Shaitan Smith. Petty theft got him on his feet, and he found his skill set was appreciated by the various gangs, crime bosses, and syndicates of this place. Eventually, he became quite the valuable boogeyman for the Sioka Syndicate, but ultimately he became a little too valuable, knew a little too much, and well, they tried to end him. They failed, of course, and tried to get the Trackers Alliance involved, even the Ecliptic, but Shaitan skipped world and was relentlessly tracked by bounty hunters for years. But when he saw an opportunity, a way to lay low for a while, he took it, a mining job with Argos extractors on the moon of Vectera. As you pick up the Ronin story, you are far removed from your former life, though your face still bears the history of your past life, ink and scar alike. By chance alone, you are wrapped up with Constellation, which, like a hand from heaven, offers Shaitan a ship and the resources to forge his own path in the galaxy. Early game, I would highly recommend returning to Neon. I would go ahead and join the Strikers and even sign up with Ryujin, just slowly chipping away at some of the early missions for some credits, but we won't tackle the later missions until we have our stealth down pat at later levels. The side quests and activities in Neon are actually really handy for a melee character who's just starting out, because there are lots of tight locations to fight enemies and some really cool fights on rooftops and such, which provide an easier time for a melee character to play in, so you can get those first few levels under your belt before you fight in more open areas. We also aren't taking companions along with us for several reasons. A, they ruin your stealthing. B, they negate the benefits of the introvert trait and the isolation skill. And C, let's just say we aren't in ethical alignment. The Ronin at his core is a different beast. He was trained by the Red Lotus assassins from birth. He has no compunctions about killing. To him, it's as simple as a chore or a job to be carried out for credits. He has no second thoughts about it, no regrets. This was conditioned out of him long ago. That doesn't mean he's a rude psychopath. Typically, he is quiet, soft-spoken, and polite. Facets of his personality also determined by his upbringing. Taking bounties is something that is on the mark for his skill set, as well as, of course, all of the Ryujin missions that can be taken after the questline is finished. As for other questlines, the Freestar Rangers isn't the greatest fit, but then again, you could take it as an opportunity to use your skill set to track down criminals and make creds, but you'd have to approach it with a mercenary mindset. Same deal with the UC Vanguard, a way to get paid as part of the militia. If anything, I feel like the UC SysDef storyline can be really cool as the Ronin operating as a double agent, infiltrating the pirates. Maybe even your Ronin becomes a turncoat and goes full pirate for the creds, though I don't think he would become some kind of savage criminal, but rather a more calculated and calm kind of presence. But ultimately, either side works, it's up to you. So now, after the backstory and role-playing sections, you should have a really good feel for the Ronin character that we've made for you, and it will surely help you understand the aesthetic vibe of the build. If you're familiar with our classic Fallout 4 and Skyrim builds, then you would know that we often like to prioritize the rule of cool over pure statistical maxing. Same as the skills, we want to give you the most on-theme and fun gameplay experience. I think, like the skill section, this gear section is best broken up into early, mid, and late game sections for recommendations. Early game, we want to get our hands on the Wakizashi ASAP, and a very easy way to do this is to join the Strikers and buy one from their vendor. It's just an easy, guaranteed location. You can find it at other vendors though. It is also possible when you have the theft skill, maybe you want to take it earlier for this reason, to go ahead and get the Syndicate Enforcer, which comes with the Lacerate and Berserker benefits, but then again, it's entirely possible that you can find better effects on random loot, but ultimately we will be using some variety of Wakizashi in the majority of our combat. But for sneaking, we want to switch to a Tanto for those quick strikes. Now, in terms of clothing, we won't have access to the operative suit until the end of the Ryujin questline, which, like I said, in the quest section, we will be taking relatively slowly unless it's very important to you, but I think Starfield is at its best when you just aren't rushing a single questline, but rather engaging in a mix of activities and environments. So I think any of the corporate attires fit really nicely early on. They have this Japanese feel to them, and especially the ones with the tails give a very Ronin feel. I will also say I bought a Neuro Amp, but do not feel obliged as we don't really use them for stats. It just looks cool, but you can buy one from the store in front of Ryujin when you have spare cash, just for fun. As for the spacesuit helmet and pack, we're going to shoot for the Shock Troop set, but I replaced the pack with something sleeker like the Deep Seeker pack. This Shock Troop set is one of the lighter sets, plus it has that very fitted, tight look you may expect on an operative type character. You should be able to get these relatively early and just swap out for later tier versions like Calibrated and Advanced as you progress throughout the game. It is also worth noting that Elegance, a unique suppressed pistol, can be used in the earlier stages to level stealth easier, and this can be bought at Rowland Arms at Aquila. But Chems, in the early stages we aren't going to have ranks of chemistry, and so we will need to be relying on what can be scavenged and bought in the early game. Of course, your medical stuff like med packs and such are important, but the main stars of the early game, which can be easily made without ranks of chemistry, but still needing the first level of research for performance enhancers, includes things like Amp and Red Trench, giving boosts to speed and melee as well as some resistances and such. Recon Stims or Frostwolf is also something that will come in handy as we level stealth, but in general things that improve movement speed or melee damage or damage in general are going to be useful. Things like the CQBX and Squall. For mid-game, we will be using a Wakizashi and Tanto in stealth still, or whatever special variant of those weapons you can get your hands on. The armor will be the Shock Troop suit and helmet, with whatever better tier that you can also find, but of course, as we get spacesuit design ranks and ranks of stealth and stealth-related skills, we will want to modify our gear, with the main choices being gravitic composites on the armor and helmet, reducing our detection from enemies, and this is a game changer, as now, in my experience, stealth feels even better with the armor on, as opposed to off, like you'll have to do earlier on. And we will be adding exo servos to squeeze out that little bit of extra melee damage. The rest of the selection is up to you, but just remember mods typically add weight to the armor with the exception of the gravitic composites, so just keep that in mind because we want to prioritize stealthiness with low equip weight. Of course, as we make it through the end of the Ryujin questline, we will be given the operative suit, an apparel item which grants a 25% bonus to your stealth, and this is the main outfit that you've been watching the character with. But as we enter the late game around level 40-ish, we should now have access to the full suite of craftable chems, and this is where you can really elevate the melee combat part of the build. The three main options I use for straight up combat buffs are Red Amp, a combination of Amp and Red Trench, which for 2 minutes boosts melee damage and movement speed by 50%, as well as boosting jump height by 2 times, which is crazy results with Gymnastics rank 4, and it also gives 400 damage resistance as well. I'll also use Whiteout for more relaxed encounters, where I don't want to waste the good stuff. This gives 25% boost to damage and 35% boost to movement speed for 2 minutes, but the big, absolutely awesome one here to pull out for all those boss encounters is Supermassive Black Heart, which boosts movement speed by 75%, slows time by 50%, power recovery increases by 500%, and damage increases by 50%. Now, this only lasts for 10 seconds, but it is great to just blast through enemies in those vital encounters. Aside from the new suite of craftable chems, for the most part the gear is the same, the best tier Shock Troop set you can get your hands on with the Deep Seeker pack for a sleeker aesthetic. The final component of this build is of course the ship choice. For this I will mostly refer you to the luxury ship video, which features the Jiraiya, a fittingly weeb name for the Ronin ship of choice, but it is mainly for transport purposes. We want it to look like some kind of luxury limo or small cruiser. The Ronin build, as I have planned it out, features no investment in piloting or any ship related skills, so this ship build is class A with no starship design parts, but also do consider that if you want to pursue these skills in the later game, the luxury ships video also features a Jiraiya Mark II, which enhances the build to make it a C-class ship. But look, this is one of the few builds where I think the ship really does take the backseat, especially as we aren't focusing on any crew or companions. He is a lone wolf character. But everyone, that is everything you need to know about how to completely immerse yourself in the Ronin, the blade in the dark, the chem-enhanced storm of razor cuts. It's now time for you to dive into his story yourself. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed the fourth of our many role-playing builds to come. Starfield truly is an incredible game with lots of character potential. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more builds to come, along with ship builds and other sensational Starfield content. My name is Scott, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again soon.